There are problems with this approach. So, first of all, this splitting-based approach does not explain why Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and all these disorders have other neurological symptoms, a lot of other ones. So Alzheimer's has a lot of non-cognitive symptoms. Parkinson's has a lot of non-motor symptoms. ALS and Huntington's have a lot of behavioral and cognitive symptoms that aren't explained by the sort of traditional classification approaches that we use. And also these disorders all lead to neurodegeneration in other areas of the brain, sometimes the spinal cord, sometimes the nerves, the peripheral and autonomic nervous systems. And the aggregates also occur well outside of the primary neurodegenerative regions as well. Second problem with splitting, it doesn't explain why the degenerative changes in protein aggregates actually occur well outside of the nervous system in all four of these disorders. So you've got neuron aggregates affecting multiple organs, tissues, and cells, such as the gut, particularly in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, such as the musculoskeletal system, so the muscles themselves, all four of them have changes in the muscles, particularly ALS and Huntington's, and the heart, particularly ALS and Huntington's. These things are all affected, and this is just a snapshot. Multiple other organs are also affected. The third problem with splitting is it ultimately facilitates targeted suppressive treatments that are aimed at the symptoms and the neuron aggregates. We try to suppress or eliminate the symptoms and the neuron aggregates and hope that this will somehow improve the disorder and cure it. And I don't think that's ever going to work. Vaccines are the way that we often try to suppress the neuron aggregates. And yeah, I don't think that's going to work. So splitting portrays neurodegenerative disorders as focal neurological disorders in a few parts of the brain. But in fact, they are absolutely widespread multi-system disorders affecting multiple parts of the nervous system and many other regions of the body. So you can't target that. There's an alternative way to perceive this, though. Okay, so we can perceive these disorders by amalgamating them or lumping them rather than splitting them by a shared universal feature of impaired mitochondrial biology. Impaired mitochondrial biology unifies all of them. Mitochondria are the small organelles. There's hundreds of thousands of them in all our cells except red blood cells, and they produce energy, move around the cell, coordinate metabolism, do a whole lot of stuff. And the impairments in mitochondrial biology are multifaceted, so they go beyond. I used to use the term mitochondrial dysfunction, but I'm starting to sway away from that now because there are multiple facets of mitochondrial biology that term does not really encompass. And you can look at mitochondrial biology by 6 levels in order of decreasing complexity. So the first level is mitochondrial metabolism. In the neurodegenerative disorders, you have impairments of mitochondrial metabolism. Metabolism is the chemical reactions in the cells throughout the body. In the second level, mitochondrial phenotypes are the characteristics of the mitochondria relevant to the cell. In neurodegenerative disorders, you have abnormal mitochondrial content in the cell, for example. Third level down, mitochondrial behaviors. These are impaired in neurodegenerative disorders, and these behaviors include things like mitochondrial fusion, so they come together normally, and fission, where they split apart. Normally, motility, so mitochondria move around cells and neurons. They're very mobile. Mitogenesis, so the birth of new mitochondria, and mitophagy, which is the destruction of old junky mitochondria. All of these things are impaired in these neurodegenerative disorders. Mitochondrial function, fourth layer down. So in neurodegenerative disorders, the mitochondria display decreased ATP production, increased reactive oxygen species emission, so free radical emission, all 4 of them. And fifth level down, mitochondrial activities. So there's impaired mitochondrial enzyme activities in the respiratory chain. The respiratory chain is what generates the energy in the mitochondria, and it has 4 main components. So the first, complex 1, is messed up in Parkinson's. Complexes 2 and 3 are messed up in Huntington's. Complex 4 is messed up in Alzheimer's, and all 4 of them are messed up in ALS. And sixth and final level, at the most simple level, mitochondrial features. So you get abnormal mitochondrial shapes and sizes in the neurodegenerative disorders, and you get damage to their cristae, where the respiratory change is located, where the energy is being made. and you also have damage to their mitochondrial DNA. So there's just huge numbers of impairments, multifaceted impairments in mitochondrial biology in these disorders. So it's not a simple thing. And this unifies all of them. They all have this. And if you want to read more about this excellent paper that came out earlier this year by Martin Picard's group in New York discusses the multifaceted nature of mitochondria.